Yeah, like I said, that's why normally I go live with my phone, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it because it's a lot more you can do on the desktop. Anyway, to your question, what's the best type of film to watch? So what I was saying is that there's a couple different ways you can approach this, but what I found is probably the best way of doing it is you want to find a player who is maybe similar to you, who maybe has the same sort of strengths or plays the same position, and go on YouTube and just look at, okay, what is the like go find their game highlights. I think a mistake that a lot of players make and something that I've noticed is that if you go and watch like full season highlights, a lot of times you're watching like plays that don't happen that often. They hit some crazy shot, they make some crazy move, stuff that's not really going to apply super well to you. But if your player is Mikal Bridges, for example, you're a wing who's a shooter, and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go and watch Mikal Bridges and his game highlights against Milwaukee in a random game in January, you're going to see plays that are much more common, and you're going to be able to find things that actually can apply back to you. Now, what I would say when you're going through this, maybe you say, okay, 10 minutes a day I'm going to spend watching film on some player. And when you watch those game highlights, what I want you to do is go through, take notes on it, things that maybe are patterns that you see. What do they do well? What do they not do well? What do you see you can apply to your game? And then after you finish watching that, go through and then pick one thing that is like the biggest takeaway for you. If there's one thing you could apply to your game, the one thing you're going to commit to doing, and that way it's going to be top of mind. You're actually going to have an actionable takeaway from the film that you just watched. Because a mistake that players make is they spend all this time watching film, but they overload themselves with everything, and they are like, okay, I have 30 different things I want to apply, and they end up doing none of it. So the best thing you can do is take all those notes, see all of it. That's great. But then when you're done, pick one thing, write that thing down, and commit to applying it the next time you play or the next time you work out or whatever it may be. So that's one way to watch film. There's a bunch of different ways, but I think that that's probably the easiest way, the simplest way to do it. And the way that I know for sure, just through my own experience, is going to help you to actually be able to apply that stuff into games. Let me know if that makes sense or if you have any other questions about that specifically. Appreciate you guys who are in here. Like I said, I don't know if I was probably muted when I said this, but I know I announced this live like probably 2 hours ago and just kind of just kind of decided, hey, we're just gonna do this today, and that's typically how a lot of my lives have been. So appreciate you guys for being here. I never played any school ball at all. I've only ever played on some AAU tourneys with my friends, and now I'm just a practice player for a girls JUCO team. What are my other hooping options? So Jordan, I guess my first question to you would be, is there any chance of you actually being able to play on that JUCO team, or is it kind of set in stone that you're going to be a practice player? Like, are you in your first year, second year, like, do you have time, or what's the situation like? Oh, I think I misread your. I think I misread your question. Hold up, I definitely did misread your question. Um, so okay, I get what you're saying. Where are so in terms of like where you're at, like, is your goal to play in college? Like, are you your goal to transfer somewhere to make the men's team at your school, or like what do you want to do with it? Because you definitely have options. It's just like what options do you want to pursue? some type of overseas. So my suggestion to you, if you want to do that, would be like you have to find a way to get film. I would say one path you could take, probably the most straightforward one in some ways, maybe not in every way, but if you have like depending on how many years you have left in school, like how much eligibility you have, finding a place to play, like finding a place to be on the team and play competitive games at some college would probably be the best route for you. It doesn't matter what level, like it doesn't matter how good the school is. It doesn't matter. You need to go play because if you go to that school and you're just an absolute killer and you're averaging 20 or whatever it is that you do really well, you do that at a high level, you can demonstrate that, you can put that on film, then you're going to be able to like send that to scouts overseas, teams overseas, get yourself in contact with like an agent or some sort of agency that is able to facilitate those communications, and teams will see, okay, this is what he can contribute, this is what he can do. But if you don't have film, then they have no way of knowing that, and your chances of being able to actually go and do that is way way more difficult. So I would say try and find a place. Maybe there's a JUCO in your area. Maybe you can get on the actual team at the school that you're at. Maybe you can transfer somewhere after this year's over. And even if it's just for 1 year, like literally, I think the biggest thing right now is getting filmed. So that's one way you could do it is by trying to play somewhere. You could also play in like a men's league or something like that, but make sure that it's a really competitive one. Like ideally, it's a league with players who are current college players. Maybe during the summers, it could be a league where there's a lot of like former college players, former pro players, so it's good competition. But whatever you need to do to get film against other good players, be it college players or just really competitive players, like that's probably priority number one. So whichever path you can take to do that is what I'd recommend. I cycle 6.1 miles to the basketball court every day from 4:30 to 7:20. I wanted to know if I should start going in the morning also, or is that too much on my body? Um, I mean, I would say so. If you're biking 6 miles there, and then so answer me this: is that 4:30 to 7:20? Is that including the time it takes you to bike there, or is that you're biking there, getting there at 4:30, and there for 3 hours, and then biking back? Because that probably changes my answer or my thought on kind of your situation. So you get there at 4:30 and you're there for 3 hours. So my take on that is that in 3 hours a day, you can probably accomplish everything that you need to accomplish. For the most part, like if you're really going hard and you go in there super dialed in with the training that you're doing, like an hour and a half, 2 hours tops is probably the most amount of work you're going to be able to put in, most amount of time you're going to spend there, and have it actually be beneficial for you. A lot of players will like they judge the success of their workout or how hard they work based on, okay, well, I'm at the court for 6 hours, 8 hours, and I'm spending more time on a court than anybody else. But you think about what a game is. A game requires you to be able to put your best effort out for an hour and a half, more than likely. So training should mimic that in a lot of ways. Like you have to be able to train at the edge of your ability for as much as possible, and that's just not possible to do for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. So I would say, I mean, that 3 hour window that you have there is probably plenty of time to get what you need to get done. The one thing that I would say though is probably the most ideal schedule, honestly, when I think about like overall development. If you're able to go do that, whether it be in the morning, in the afternoon, you go and do your like individual training. I'm assuming that's what this is you by yourself. And then whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, go finding a place to play 5-on-5, go play pickup somewhere, go play 1-on-1 somewhere, go to the YMCA and play against people there, whatever. you do one of those in the morning, one of those in the evening, then you're getting really the best of both worlds where you're getting your individual training, but you're also working on your decision making, your ability to apply what you're training into your games. And that way you're making sure that not only like, I think one thing you want to be careful of is that if you want to get better at playing basketball and being great in games, there has to be some sort of feedback for you. So, okay, I want to, like, I'm trying to get better at handling the ball. If all you do is train by yourself without anybody else, you don't get any feedback on what's working, what's not working, what should you be doing, etc. And so, because of that, it becomes difficult for you to be able to make sure that you're actually making progress. So if you can find a way to play, I would say that would be more beneficial for you than trying to do another workout by yourself. You're already there for that long. Any advice for a junior? Hold up a sec. All right, my bad, guys. I'm back. Okay. Anyway, let me know, Mart, if that makes sense. Quality over quantity when it comes to training, when it comes to getting better at basketball. So play as much as possible, and don't think that time on a court, like, don't think that more of it is necessarily better. It's not always better. Any advice for a junior trying to play in college? So I would say if you're trying to play in college, like the first thing you need to do is reach out to as many colleges as you can. Like maybe some of you guys know Danny Cooper basketball, but he. So I met him when he was at Penn State, like main campus, so like in the Big Ten, and tried out there, didn't make it, and then he was like, I want to go and play college my junior and senior year. So he told me that he emailed, like, I don't remember the exact number, but it was so many schools. Like, it was crazy the amount of schools that he reached out to, and he heard back from like two of them. And he ended up going to one of those schools, Moravian University, which is in Pennsylvania, and ended up being a 2-year starter there. But he got ghosted by almost everybody that he reached out to. So that's point number one. Reach out to them. And the other thing is you have to have film. Like, kind of similar to the question I answered earlier when it comes to like trying to play overseas. You need to have film, some sort of film. Unless you are able to work out a situation where you can go and try out, and you better be really confident that you're going to have to play at that level. Like, you better know that there's people that you've played with, that you're as good as or better than, because otherwise you might go to a school, enroll, do all that stuff, and then just get cut anyway. So the best thing you can do is send out your film to as many coaches as you possibly can. Like, I'm talking like 100, 200, 300 coaches at different schools until you get an opportunity. And then once you see any sort of interest, then you kind of, can whittle down what it is that you're exactly looking for. Got any tips to become a varsity high school shooting guard? Yeah, so I think the first thing, and I've been saying this often, but this is like a shift that I've made in just my overall beliefs about shooting. For those of you guys who don't know, I'm also a high school varsity coach. And then obviously you guys watch my videos, so I started with training. And so I train middle school, high school, college players, pro players. But obviously I'm very connected, and I see a lot of what like the high school level looks like right now. That's like what I'm in every single day. The number one thing is that you need to be able to make catch and shoot threes specifically. Like, that should be the focus of everything that you do when it comes to your training, because no shot is more valuable in today's game than being able to make that open catch and shoot three. You make your life easier, you make your entire team's life easier. When there are shooters on the floor, it changes everything. And if you want to be a shooting guard, you want to be a perimeter player, then you've got to be a great shooter. So my rule of thumb now is that 80% of your on-court training needs to be focused on shooting, specifically catch and shoot threes. So if you go to the gym for, let's say an hour, right? 80% of that time that you're there should be in some way focused on shooting. And then other 20% that you're doing can be with whatever else. But when I look at like the 80-20 rule, which is that 80% of your success, 80% of your results is going to come from 20% of your input. That 20%, a huge part of that is your ability to make catch and shoot threes. So become elite at doing that. and then get really good at like understanding point 0.5 decisions and hunting advantages. So being able to make a decision to shoot, drive, or pass within half a second of catching the ball. Like if you need to have the ball and take 10 dribbles to set up your defender and create, like that's not, there are very few players who can get away with being that. You've got to be so elite at those things, and you have to have a coach who allows it. And honestly, you have to have a team that's not very good, where they need you to do that. So your focus needs to be catch and shoot threes, being able to make quick decisions with the basketball, and then I would say the IQ of understanding advantages. So how do I create an advantage? How do I create, like when I see a momentum advantage or a closer coming at me, am I really good at attacking that and getting downhill? Am I good at drawing in other defenders for my teammate, kicking the ball out to them so that they have something to attack? Stuff like that I think goes into being a great shooting guard, but it all goes back to, can you make shots at a high level consistently? If you cannot, that needs to be your number one focus by a mile. Monkeys and Titans, to answer your question, the best competition that you can play against. That being said, though, like if we're talking about a team you're playing on, which is I assume is what it is, don't go play on a team where you play 6 minutes a game. Especially if we're talking AAU, like that's a waste of everybody's time. So go play the best competition you can while still getting like a good amount of playing time. Um, Obviously, I don't know you or what area you live in, but you probably have a good idea what that looks like. Yeah, if you want a 100 call to send my film and everything, one community college reply back. Like, I mean that. So you're already doing the right things, then, Ian. I would say, like, are there 100 more you can reach out to? You hear back from one. Um, what do they say? What they reply with? The thing, when I play games with the team, I feel off and can't perform as good as I would in a one-on-one. Yeah, that's the thing. So I think there's like three parts of player development, Mart, to your point there. Number one is what you're doing, where you're saying you're going and biking to the court and putting in the work individually. That's a piece of it. Then going and playing what we would call small-sided games. So I would group like one-on-one in with that, where you're playing against a defender, maybe you're working on different situations. Maybe it's a one-on-one, a two-on-two, a three-on-three, and that's important too. You develop a lot of skills doing that. But then the third piece of it is 5-on-5, and being able to actually execute and play in a 5-on-5 setting is different than playing on a one-on-one. Obviously, you have teammates, you have less space to actually work with. So that being the case, I would say it's probably the hole in the bucket for you right now. So go find more opportunities to play 5-on-5, and that's two things. It's going to help you actually to be better because you're going to do it more, but it's also going to give you really good feedback as to what you need to be working on going forward. It's hard to know those things if you're not consistently doing it. How many points should you average? Like, I know it's not a specific number. What would catch a coach's eye? So I would say there's kind of two parts to that, Ian. If I'm a coach, probably like points do matter. For sure. If I see a kid is averaging 30, like, okay, I'm probably going to watch their film at least, right? 30 is probably extreme, but even like 20, like you're probably going to watch the film. But I think even more so than that, they're looking for what traits translate to this level. Because if we're talking like high school film, the high school level, there's so much disparity. You have like the Philly Catholic League where you have like high major D1 kids every year. You have like the Catholic League down in the DMV where it's like crazy high level basketball. And then you have random single A basketball in Idaho, and it's a whole different world. So averaging 20 in that league in Idaho is not the same as averaging 20 in the Philly Catholic League. So the big thing that, like, as a coach that you're probably looking at is what are their physical traits? So how tall are you? How athletic are you? Can you dunk? I would say, like, if you can, you probably want to have that early on in whatever film you're sending them, so they know, okay, we have a certain level of athlete here. And even though that doesn't necessarily mean you can play, coaches will think, okay, well, are they physically able to play at this level? And then I can help them develop the other skills. A lot of coaches think of it that way. So it's a combination of things. If you have a guy who only averaged 8 points playing on a really good team, but they're 6'5" and really athletic, whole different ballgame than somebody who's, again, at that single A school out in Idaho, averaging 8 points against players who will never come close to playing in college. How to make better decisions fast and create opportunities for me and my teammate. So I think that I actually just talked about this in the video I recorded today, so it'll be out like probably sometime today. If not today, it'll be out tomorrow. But I think I'll answer your question here in a second, but I'm gonna kind of take it like I'm gonna take it from like the end of the question, and I'm gonna circle back to what you asked about. But I think the big thing, and if there's one shift that you can make if you want to become great as a player, great in anything, but basketball is a really good example of it. It has to be so much more about being than doing, right? So everybody wants to you want to make better decisions, you want to make decisions faster, you want to create opportunities for you and your teammates, and everybody wants these tactics and these strategies, when really it needs to become about like just who you are. How do you think? Like, what is it that drives you? And I think I gave the example in the video, like, just because I cook a meal that's really good for somebody else, that does not mean that I should, be on Iron Kitchen and I should be some world renowned chef, because that's not me. I haven't earned that. I haven't become that person who's able to handle those things. So that kind of has to be how you think. It has to be about changing the way that you think, the way that you act, the way that you approach the game. First step to doing that would be watching a ton of basketball. Like, watch a ton of basketball, because you only learn so much from your own experiences. You're limited by what you've actually gone through. And you're also limited by the way that you currently see the game. So there are things that happen on the court every time you play that you don't even notice because you just haven't seen it. Somebody else does, though. So when you go, and I'll go back to my example earlier about watching who is it? Mikal Bridges, right? If I'm a wing player and I want to get better, I say, okay, I'm gonna study Mikal Bridges, and I'm gonna write down all the things that he does well. I'm gonna write down all the opportunities where, like, when does he drive? Why did he drive left right there? What does he do when he gets to the paint and the help rotates over? What does he do when he catches the ball and the defense is closing out to his high side? I'm going to get all those little details, and I'm going to look for these patterns over and over and over again. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm probably going to take 10 or 15 minutes every single day and just study the game. I might watch different players every day. I might watch the same player, whatever. But I'm going to get so good at recognizing patterns, picking things up quickly. I'm going to steal the experiences of those other players, and I'm going to apply them into my own game. I'm going to use that to build my wisdom. So that'd be the first thing that I would say is study the game. Like, spend so much time doing that every single day. It'll separate you so quick and help you to see the game quicker, make better decisions. And then the next thing is, like, go do it more. Once you watch those things and you see, okay, he did this in that situation, well, now you got to go put yourself in that same situation, and you need to execute now. And that will really build a level of confidence, a level of wisdom, because you've actually gone and done it. And you've gone there, you've made the mistakes, you've seen what works, what doesn't work. For you, like, if I'm going to go back to the Kill Bridges situation, he is different than I am. He has different things that he does well than I do. So what works perfectly for him might not work perfectly for me, and what works really well for me might not work best for him. And I need to experience that in order to become that player. So if that makes sense, let me know. But study the game at a really high level, constantly take notes on things like every single day, and then go out and play as much as you can, and then work on putting yourself in that situation and figuring out what works best for you. Ian, it was a local one. They said, Princeton will stay in touch, and I'll be coming to my number one weakness is defense. Science coach told me you're one of the best offensive players on the team, but we're here to use your defense. How can I my defense? 6A school. What school? I'm in State College, so I'm in Pennsylvania, so I'm pretty familiar with the Whitfield. Shout out to them. My team lost to a Whitfield team in the state playoffs last year. To answer your question, though, playing defense, couple things. So obviously, like, I think the straightforward answer is, like, you want to be in the weight room, getting stronger, getting more athletic, prioritizing like those compound lifts, just building your capacity when it comes to you as an athlete. So can you get stronger? If you get stronger, chances are you're going to be able to execute better on defense. You won't get pushed around. You'll be able to guard more physically. You'll be able to guard more positions. And then, sprinting, jumping as high as you can, just building your overall, like, athletic profile is really important. And then the other thing is, like, go find the best players you can and guard them. There's something, I forget who I saw say it. I think it might have been Paul Fabritz with PGF Performance, who is great. I think he's one of the best out there. But he talked about how he would have his nephew guard him all the time. His nephew was like 10 or 11 years old, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm having my nephew guard me. And he's like, he has no chance. Like, I'm going to cook him every single time. But what that's doing is that at his age, he's mentally having to process what he's seeing as he's guarding his uncle, who is obviously way bigger, better, more athletic than him. He has no chance of actually winning that matchup right now. But those mental, the things he's going to pick up on just subtly, just the little details that you only get through playing are going to make him so much better down the line because he's seeing those things. And so for you, if you can find really good players around you to play, even if it's a one-on-one against somebody who's good, that's probably the best way that you can improve your defense, because it's not just about physically. Obviously, being able to move better is going to help you, but also recognizing, like, okay, when the player moves like that, a lot of times that happens next. Being able to anticipate really well. The best defenders can anticipate things happening, so they never feel like they're playing from behind. And those are really the two pieces that I think go into like defense the most. What should a point guard who's around 5'10" work on when practicing? Well, it depends on what you're already good at, what you're not good at. I mean, general rule of thumb for point guards would be being able to handle the ball. The three things that I think go into being a great ball handler is, number one, ball control. So can you control the basketball? Right? It's simple. Everybody knows that. Stuff I love to do for that is like different like cuffing or manipulation drills where I'm working on being able to like almost pick the ball up and place it where I want to place it. That gray area of like, you're not carrying it, but being able to put your hand on the side of the basketball and move it to different places. If you send me if you leave a comment on one of my videos, or you send me a DM on Instagram or an email or whatever, I'll send you a video that like kind of goes through that so you can see what I'm saying. But that's really the first thing. The second piece of it is the way that you move and being able to keep the ball up with your body. So can you move really fast? If I have to make a spin move at 100% speed, can I keep the ball up with me? Or as soon as I have to do that, I lose the basketball. Well, that's the next thing you need to work on as well. And the third thing is your creativity. So, if a lot of players are struggle in games because they work on, okay, all this stationary ball handling, and I work on my pound cross, and then my pound between, and then I do my pound between cross, and then my pound between behind, and they get to a game, they need to go between behind to another between, and they don't have the creativity or the adaptability to be able to string different things together depending on how a defender plays in the situation that they're in, whatever. So building that ability to be creative and adaptable is that third piece of becoming a great ball handler. So if you work on those three things, you get really good at them, you're going to be able to handle the ball at a high level. Omar, what's up, man? Zephaniah, when you're playing teams that run zone defense, how would you break them down? I'm a guard, my teammates and other players I go against say I play like De'Aaron Fox, so try to say without copying. Okay, so in terms of zone defense, there's two ways like that you want to approach it. Number one is the ball. So let's say it doesn't really matter. Every zone kind of has the same principles in terms of how you beat it. But let's say it's a 2-3 zone, because it's probably the most common zone that you'll see. You typically, 2-3 zone, if you're on offense, you're going to have three players on the perimeter. You're going to have a player on the wing, top of the key wing. You're going to have like high post and then like low post or short corner. You want to either get the ball to the post players, so get the ball into the defense. So high post is great because the defense has to collapse, and that leads to kickouts. It leads to opportunities to drive. It leads to dump downs, whatever. Or if you get the ball low post, same thing. Defense has to collapse. Maybe you get a dump down to someone diving from the high post, kick out to the opposite wing. So that's the first thing is can you get the ball to your inside players against a zone? Because the ball gets inside, the whole thing can break down. And then the next thing is you as a guard, especially, you have to think about attacking gaps in the zone. So typically against a zone, you're going to line up in the gap. So if it's a 2-3 zone you're playing against, like I said, you're going to have one player up top, player on the wing, player on the other wing, and you're trying to line up in between those two players that are there so that when you catch the ball, you can look to attack that gap. And again, it's the same principle. If you do that, you draw in the defense, you collapse them, and now you have dump down to your low post guy. You have kick out to the opposite wing to create a three or another closeout to attack right there. Those are the two biggest things when it comes to beating a zone is get the ball inside, and when you have an opportunity to attack a gap, go do that. Especially if you're telling me you're playing like De'Aaron Fox, well, you're probably quick enough that you can do that. So that can be something that you can do really, really well. I play like De'Aaron Fox. Okay, so to the second part of your question there, two parts of it. First of all, copy De'Aaron Fox. He's obviously incredibly successful, and if you play like him, like there's things that he's clearly doing well. So go copy those things. Now, what that is going to actually look like in practice is that, and when I say in practice, I mean just like when you actually go play, you're not the same exact player. There is something that's different about you than De'Aaron Fox, whatever that might be, right? So you're going to go and try and do these things, and you're going to recognize, okay, that works well for me, but it works a lot better for De'Aaron Fox, or that actually works really well for me, and I've never seen him do that. So find those things that work well and go try them. And then you're going to notice really quickly, okay, that really works for me. I'm going to keep doing that. Or that one, that's not really for me, so I'm not going to do it. Hempfield area, okay. Yeah, I think my younger brother played a tournament there back when he was in high school. Cool. Yeah, Ian, I'll keep this live up, so you'll be able to watch it as soon as it gets processed here. Should I play more AAU or get a private trainer? I would say it kind of depends on the situation. I would say in a lot of cases though, you're probably better off with a trainer at that age, especially like if you're 13 and you're killing everybody, like you're just the best player or you're one of the best players, then that's kind of just what do you want to do more. But if you're struggling to maybe get minutes, maybe you feel like there's a lot of weaknesses in your game that you want to get better at, all that you're doing by just continuing to play AAU is probably keeping yourself in the same box. You have the same coaches, that you're with people who kind of know who you are, and you're going to feel boxed in. It's going to be hard for you to get better. So if you know, like, hey, I'm not where I want to be yet, then I would focus right now on getting better. It's probably going to be the best course of action, the best strategy for you. How to get more playing time. I have a new coach with favorites. Become one of his favorites. That's the answer. How to make high school ball. I'm a freshman. There's only varsity, no JV. So I would say look at like what is it that you can contribute. Like think backwards. If you are the coach and they look at you, what is it that they say, okay, he can contribute that to our team? Maybe they say, okay, well, he can shoot the ball really well. That can help our team. Or he's a great defender. That can help our team. He's a great rebounder. That can help our team. If your coach looks at you and doesn't know what you contribute, why would they keep you? So you need to think about what is it that you do best? What is it that you can bring to the team that's going to help the team win games? And then go all in on being the best at that. Maybe it's shooting. Spend the next couple months becoming the best shooter you can possibly be. So you get there, and now you have to be on the team because you contribute to winning. Back to that previous question, though. You have a new coach with favorites, how to get more playing time in that situation. I always say this, like, for the most part, like, let's be honest here. I just said I'm a high school coach. Every coach has favorites. Like, any coach who lies and says, I don't have favorites, everyone's – no, that's not true. That's not true at all. That being said, though, a lot of times players think that favorites are just the ones who are the best players in the team. And sometimes there's overlap. But usually the reason that somebody will be a coach's favorite is because they're coachable, is because they play really hard, they compete really hard, because they consistently show up, because they remember the things they're supposed to remember. They don't make mistakes on the court. If they know that, hey, this is your job on defense, they do their job consistently. All of the controllable things, they control them. And usually players who aren't the coach's favorite don't do those things, right? They're not coachable, or they don't remember things well on the court. They constantly make mistakes. And I'm not saying mistakes like they drill the ball off their foot. I'm saying mistakes like they don't rotate when they're supposed to, or they don't guard the ball the way that their coach has told them to, or there's a play that they don't remember even though they've run it before. Like, those are things that will quickly make you not one of your coach's favorites. So all those controllable things, like, control those things. And the crazy thing about it is that it seems so simple, right? It seems so elementary. Everybody knows, okay, I should remember the plays. I should play hard. I should be coachable. If you do those things, actually, though, you'll be one of your coach's favorites because it's not common. And again, I can speak to this as someone who's coached high school for the last going on 7 years now. The players who do those things, who control the controllable things, they're not common. They stand out. So you'll be one of your coach's favorites. Be that player. And going with that, if you do those things, you're going to play more too. You mentioned risk reps in a recent video. In other words, making reps with real consequences to practice game pressure. Have you got any real examples? I like that idea. Yeah, good question. So risk reps would be, I think there's a couple ways to approach it. If you're in a workout by yourself, I think the best way to kind of bring that concept in is specifically when it talks about shooting, there needs to be pressure. There needs to be weight on your shot. I think weight is the great word for this. When you shoot the ball in your workouts, is there a consequence if you miss? If you miss this shot, what happens? For most players, they go and they shoot their 5 makes at that spot and then go to the next It might take them 12 shots to get it, or it might take them 9 shots to get it, or it might take them 6 shots to get it, and there's no difference between those. Instead of saying, okay, I've got to make 3 shots without missing 2 in a row, right? So I made my first shot, cool. I made my second shot, cool. I missed my next shot. Well, I need to make that next one, or else I go back to 0. Now all of a sudden there's weight on your shots. Now all of a sudden there's actual risk here. Okay, if I make 3 in a row, I got to make 4 in a row to move on. I feel pressure. There's weight on the next shot that I take. So transitioning especially your shooting to as many drills as you can that involve risk, that involve pressure, that's going to translate to you being better equipped to make those shots in games when every single shot that you shoot has pressure, because there's 4 other teammates on the court, and if you take a shot, that means those 4 don't get to take that shot. That's pressure right there. Obviously, there are bigger shots than others in terms of, okay, end of the game, end of the quarter, whatever, right? But every shot has a little bit of weight on it, so that'd be the first thing. I think the second thing, and I'll keep it with like training by yourself, right? And then I can maybe give you a couple examples of what that might look like when it comes to like playing pickup or one-on-one or whatever. But when it comes to like ball handling or finishing, for example, I think that's where you want to train at the edge of your ability as much as possible. So for ball handling especially, I mentioned like the training your ball control using those different manipulation drills. One thing that we love to do is we will do like very simple. It's stationary. You're dribbling the ball. You're going to take a dribble in place, but you have to reach out as far as you possibly can. Like you're stretching out as far as you can on that first dribble, and then you're bringing that ball back to your pocket, manipulating it, and then sometimes we'll change hands with it too. So I'm dribble, be able to bring that ball back to my pocket, and then change hands, and I'm really challenging myself with how far out can I place the ball and still be able to bring it back to my body afterwards. That's really difficult to do if you challenge yourself the right way. So just doing things that way. That's kind of a more in-depth example. Again, if you want like a video that kind of goes through that, send me a DM or leave a comment on a YouTube video, and I'll send the video to you. But that's kind of like step one. And then when it comes to like you training against, and I think this is the context that I used that in that video. Whenever you're going to play, right? Whenever you're playing one-on-one, which obviously I've talked about a lot already, but you want to play as much as possible. See defense whenever you can. You want to think about what is it that I'm trying to get better at. If I'm trying to become a better catch and shoot player, maybe I'm already a really good slasher. I get to the basket really well. That's my strength, but I'm trying to get better at making shots. Well, now I know, hey, in this 45 minutes that I'm playing 2-on-2, 5-on-5, whatever, I'm going to shoot the ball as much as I'm not going to be a ball hog and like make everybody hate me, but whenever I have an opportunity to shoot the ball, I'm going to take it instead of driving, knowing that I'm probably going to do worse in that 45-minute, and that's a risk you're taking. You're risking looking bad. And if you're able to do that consistently, you're going to figure out what works for you. Eventually, you're going to get better at it, and that's how you really utilize those risk reps to make you better at basketball. Roscoe, if that answers your question. I know there's a lot in there. My last year, my sophomore year, I didn't get the minutes I liked, and this year I'm looking to start and play a big role. My best trait is shooting. What do I do on and off the court to start? Minutes I liked. This year I'm looking to start, play a big role in shooting. So I would say, Ian, a couple things. I mean, you already kind of identified the first thing, which is you can't be a liability on defense. That's a very quick way to not play. So that's got to be your focus. So again, like I mentioned, you want to make sure that you're playing as much as possible and against the best players you can. And again, kind of like what I was just saying to Roscoe with his question, don't worry about looking bad. Like, be willing to look bad and get cooked in a one-on-one or in a 5-on-5. Who cares, right? It's September right now. No one cares. No one's keeping score, right? No one's going to remember that game tomorrow. So don't be willing to look bad right now as you're trying to improve and be purposeful and focus on what it is that you're trying to get better at. That's the first thing. And then, you kind of know what your best trait is. You're a shooter. That like 3-and-D type is huge, right? It's one of the most valuable roles you can be in the game of basketball. So be someone who's consistent, who's reliable. I think one thing that'll really help to separate you is having a great grasp over what it is that your coach wants from you, from your team. Like, what are the things that are going to make your coach happy? What does he want? And then make sure that not only do you do those things, that you prioritize those, but you can communicate that to your teammates as well. Like, be an extension of your coach on the court. And that makes you so much more valuable. Even if you're missing every single shot, you're valuable because you're able to do that. right now I'm in the off season and I'm focusing on getting even better on my skills, especially shooting. And I'm also trying to focus on getting stronger and focus on my jumping technique and watch film. Love that. Love that. Keep working. But I'm better than the coach's favorite players. What do I do? Um, I'll speak as a coach. There are players who, like, I've coached teams where our best player was like one of my least favorite players because of like what I said. They weren't coachable. They didn't like their ability to compete, their competitive stamina wasn't very good. So yeah, they were really talented, but when it came down to it, they didn't do everything that goes into winning at a high level. And teams like that didn't win anything. So you've got to first of all ask yourself. And I'm not trying to make this sound like I'm coming at you or anything like that. I'm just saying this because I think it's important for everybody to hear it. You've got to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, am I doing everything that I can do to be coachable? Am I competing at a high level? And when I say coachable, I mean like when your coach has feedback for you, how do you respond to it? Do you take it and use it to be better? Do you listen to what he's saying instead of how he's saying it to you? Or is it immediate defensive? Or is it immediate, well, I'm the best player here, I'm better than that kid? Like if there's any of that, you won't be one of their favorites and they're not going to trust you. I think what you're kind of getting at, right? If you're one of the better players and you're still not playing or you're not getting the opportunities you probably should get, it's probably because that coach doesn't trust you enough. And the reason they don't trust you is probably because, and again, I don't know you, I don't know your coach, but a lot of times it happens to be because those things that build trust from coaches, how hard you consistently play, you showing up consistently, you being able to communicate in games at a high level, you being able to defend, you being interested in defending, right? If you're a great offensive player but you're disinterested in defense or disinterested in rebounding or you don't like sharing the basketball, whatever, those are all things that can hurt the trust you have with your coaches. And as good as you might be, if you don't have that, then you're going to be kind of stuck in jail, right? You don't want to be there. So you got to really ask yourself if you're doing everything in your control to make sure that your coach trusts you. And again, I can't answer that for you. I don't know. You got to ask yourself that. Or send me a basketball academy in Spain. What can I do to increase my chances of being successful while I'm there? I don't want to go over there and let her down. So I'm just give me a little bit more like context here, Mark. What exactly do you do at this academy? Is this like basically like a training thing? Like, are you just there like working, or are you like playing games, or is this like a whole big thing where you're on court doing workouts, you're doing lifting stuff, you're doing all that? Like, what? Because I haven't heard of anything like. I mean, I have, but specifically with this one, I'd like to know like what it actually looks like for you. Yes, sir, Roscoe. That was a great question. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I talked to my coach what I need to do, and he sees I need to get better. When to get better at, says keep shooting 3-pointer high level, keep working your range. Number one, being able to play defense. Yeah, and again, like Ian, I think you're in a really good spot right now because for a lot of players, this is the issue. You don't have this issue right now, which is they're trying to be everything. Like right now, I got to be a better shooter, better ball handler, better finisher, better defense. I got to be able to create my own shot better. I got to be able to jump higher and do this. Like, and they're so scattered around. Okay, there are two things that are going to get me on the court and keep me on the court, and it's first of all, can I defend? And I would say probably that's got to be your number one priority. So even right now, you guys are probably doing open gyms. You guys are probably doing all that sort of stuff. Like, you got to go guard whoever the best player on your team is. Like, you got to make sure that you're guarding them every chance you get, right? You tell everybody else, hey, no, I got him. Like, that's got to be you right now, okay? Knowing that, again, maybe that means that you get cooked in September. Who cares? You in November will be appreciative of that, and you next year, the year after, you're gonna be really happy that you did something like that. And then continue to focus on your 3-point shooting. You're in a good spot. You just got to keep on doubling down on what you're doing, and you have your ticket to have playing time, right? That's what you want. That's the best that you can have. I'll probably give it like 5 more minutes, guys. Do you guys have any last questions? Go ahead and drop them. Great questions so far. Really good conversation. Yes, sir. Happy to help, Ian. Keep me updated. I'll do more of these guys. Like I'd like to do these more consistently, at least one a month, maybe more than that. But yeah, feel free to hop back in, leave a comment on a video, let me know how your progress is going, all that sort of stuff. Appreciate the support. Training academy, and they have connections with teams. They said they will find a team for my skill level. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, number one thing, man, like go over there and just like be a sponge. Like ask a million questions. Like ask as many questions as you possibly can to everybody, to coaches there, to other players there who maybe do something really, really well. Like just go over there like with a ton of humility. The best thing you can do in this situation is be willing to look like without being able to put it in a more like a softer way, be willing to look stupid sometimes. It's okay. Like that's actually one of the best things you can do for yourself is just be a sponge, learn as much as you can. And if you approach it that way, you're gonna get a lot out of it right there. Whatever it is that they give you, whatever it is they tell you, like really buy into it, and ask those questions as much as you can. What are the regrets that you have, and what would you change if you could restart my life? Wow, we're going deep question right here, man. That's a great question. Give me a couple minutes to think about that. I've been practicing by myself for about 5 years now. I've got my skills pretty good, but would visualizing defensive schemes, picking them apart, help me evolve more as a player? Zephaniah, absolutely. Great question. I've talked in the past about visualization a lot, and it's like one of the most powerful things. Like they do studies on this where they look at people who like they'll take subjects who go and work on free throws every day, and then they'll take a group that doesn't work on free throws at all, and they'll take a group that doesn't actually physically work on them, but goes and like visualizes working on free throws, and they see a really similar improvement in free throw shooting ability at the end of that study. Now that's one study, and I haven't dove too deep into the specifics of it, but where there's smoke, there's fire, as they say, right? So I think building like a habit of visualization every day is like one of the best things you can do because it takes very little time or effort. You can literally do it wherever you're at, and just taking 5 minutes and visualizing yourself seeing different defensive schemes, different defensive coverages, different types of defenders, whatever, and then executing well or making the right decision in that situation is a great way for you to be able to improve your decision making. Really good. Junior. Yes, sir. Happy to help, Mart. Bro, I'm not gonna lie. I'm a junior this year and got cut my freshman year. Didn't try my sophomore year. I feel like there's no point in trying out because teams are all set and locked. What should I do? I've been training my butt off. I think it will be for nothing. So I would say first thing is, did you talk to that coach after you got cut? Like, did he give you any feedback? Did he give you any, hey, work on this? Hey, this is why? Because that's probably that's the most important thing right now is what does your coach think? Seven, I don't remember, but it was one of the players that played against you, the AAU team one time. I think it was at a college thing, but I saw you. I heard you a fan. Zephaniah, do you remember? Because it's like vaguely. I know the memory's in there, but do you remember which tournament that was or where it was at? Was it this year or was it like a couple years ago? Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah, you answered that because I think I might remember this. I'm just trying to remember. I'm trying to put a face to a name right now. Even if you play better than a player that's already on the team, the coach will be biased and pick the guy that he knows. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that is how it is a lot of times, right? A coach has a certain amount of trust in a guy if they've been around for a couple of years, and sometimes that's just how it is. So, I would say like kind of I gave this answer earlier to someone who asked about how to make varsity as a shooting guard, and it's the same idea with this. You need to think about what it is that you do well right now. Like, what is your best trait? And can that trait help the team win games? Like, is that a trait that contributes to winning? Because that's all that matters. A coach decides who's on his team or not on his team based on, is this player going to help me win games or are they not? And if they are not, then they get cut, right? So you've got to double down on whatever it is that you do well, whatever can contribute to winning. And then you got to go to that tryout and you got to do that thing. So don't try and be LeBron James to do everything. But you want to make sure that you want to make sure that you are focused on contributing that and making that like front and center what you show them. Tryout is it's an evaluation, but I forget the exact analogy that I gave before. Maybe I heard it somewhere, but you want to treat you want to try out to be a more like a like window shopping and less like a test drive. So you want the coach to be able to look at you from a little bit of a distance and see like, okay, that car looks nice. The car looks like it could be good. Rather than having them actually see the entire picture with a test drive and I know, oh man, I don't like how this accelerates. I don't like the brakes on this. I don't like the way the seat feels. Like, you don't want that to be the case. So stick to what it is that you are most confident doing and don't try and do things that you aren't confident doing. Zeph and okay, yeah, I do remember you. And that was the situation that I thought it was too. I just wanted to make sure that I was right on that. Glad to have you in the live, man. It was good meeting you. Hope your AAU season finished up well. All right, hey guys, I really appreciate all the questions in the live. Like I said, I want to do this stuff more often. But for the meantime, I've got another video that's dropping either tonight or tomorrow, depending on how quickly I get it done. So we'll see how that looks. Be on the lookout for that. Appreciate all of you guys who've tuned in. Always great to connect with you, and we will talk soon. Peace.